Religion. What is it? Why is it? Does it even exist?
Of course it does, you goofopotamus.
Okay, then ask yourself this. How do you define religion? Go ahead, write it down. Put an answer in the comments. Maybe you think this is super easy, but philosophically speaking, this is a very tricky question. Each religion is a sort of generalization of many specific communities of belief, often called sects. What, I can't say sex? S-E-C-T-S. Fine, we'll say denominations. That's only for Christians, really? Subgroups, we'll go with subgroups, okay? Religions are made up of collections of subgroups that usually collect around specific places of worship and have specific beliefs and rituals. A subgroup can be as local as a neighborhood Catholic church, or as wide as all the people who make annual pilgrimages to Mecca. When you take a 50,000-foot view of these subgroups, you can begin to group them based on their commonalities into religions. But how common are these subgroups within a religion? Extremely different in some cases. In fact, the differences among these subgroups of the same religions have been so vast that they've caused political and social upheaval, violence, and all-out wars. How could people who so fundamentally disagree with each other fit under the same religion? And why do some differences separate religions entirely when others are totally fine to live under the same roof? This brings us back to the main question: what actually defines a religion? Maybe no one knows, or at least agrees.
What about the dictionary definition?
That's actually not a bad idea. According to Merriam-Webster, the primary definition of religion is a personal set or institutionalized system of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices. Okay, how do you use the word religious in the definition of religion? That's like crazy, right? Okay, whatever. Let's look at the definition of religious. Okay, religious means of relating to or devoted to religious beliefs or observances.
You can't keep getting away with it!
See, I told you it was tricky. Okay, let's dive deeper. What about the secondary definition? The service and worship of God or the supernatural. Okay, that's much clearer. Let's keep going. Or relating to or manifesting faithful devotion to an acknowledged ultimate reality or deity, and a cause, principle, or system of beliefs held to with ardor and faith. Okay, less clear, but this at least gives us two seemingly fundamental aspects of religion: service and worship of the supernatural, or faithful devotion to an ultimate reality. But why should the dictionary get to define anything? When did Merriam-Webster become the experts? Religion must have existed before we decided to let these two jabronis define what words mean. So let's go back in time, back to before Skibbity Toilet Riz, the internet, electricity, before Merriam and Webster's great-great-great-grandparents even had sex. Now we'll see religion as a much different concept. If you went up to someone from that time, and assuming they didn't immediately have a heart attack from your speech, clothing, and general vibes, and you asked this person, assuming you somehow spoke a language they can understand, what religion are you? They probably really wouldn't know how to answer, so might as well not speak their language and give them a heart attack. Religion as a monolithic cultural type or social genus just didn't really exist back then. People who followed the ways of Jesus didn't really think of themselves as Christians, no more than the people who live in the land we call Florida thought of themselves as Floridians. But living in an age where we carry around a device that can access information from all across the globe at moment's notice, it's hard to imagine not knowing what's going on across the world. But to an agrarian farmer who may have only rarely ventured beyond the castle walls, or even to a Mongol warrior who rode all across the Caucasus on horseback, most people just didn't really think of themselves outside of their connections to their family, tribes, and local communities. So the closest thing you may get to an answer, after some explaining, would be them rattling off a collection of related customs, burial rituals, maybe some scriptures and lore that had been passed down through their community. At different times and different places, these collections of practices may have been more formalized into something like a school, a code, or an enforced practice by a government or community. This is where we see religion begin to formalize into the broad definition we know today. Particularly in the Middle Ages and monasteries, members of the community committed themselves to live by a strict set of principles based on these particular beliefs, rituals, and scriptures of their time and place. Etymologically, this is actually where the word religion comes from. These codes, monasteries, and the people who abided by them and lived in them were often called
religiones.
Many of these codes could be extracted out to the following properties. 1. There is definitely a supreme deity. 2. This said deity should be worshipped. 3. Religious practice is cultivating the virtues of this deity. 4. Humans should seek repentance for wrongdoings against this deity. And 5. Humans are rewarded or punished in this life and the next based on their virtues or wrongdoings. Now, if you pluralize supreme deity to be supreme deities, it covers most of the commonalities of theistic religion. And it falls in line with the first part of M&W's definition, the service and worship of God or the supernatural. But what about religions that don't have a god? Is that even a thing? Well, let's think about it.